International air travel is making strong recovery. According to the International Air Transport Association, the recovery in passenger traffic is accelerating. And on an average, the industry may now return to pre-pandemic figures in 2023, a year earlier than its previous forecast, despite the global impact of fuel costs. On the program, an analyst explains the dynamics of IATA's figures. Plus, the Kaduna airport reopens about 2 months after airlines suspended services from the airport due to a bandit attack. That's a sneak preview and a warm welcome to Vision This Week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi, and our background report is next.
Air transport generates benefits to consumers and the wider economy by providing speedy connections between cities. These virtual bridges in the air enable the economic flows of goods, investments, people and ideas that are the fundamental drivers of economic growth. 2020 saw the highest plunge in air travel connectivity worldwide owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, with the effect still felt in 2021. But now, the International Air Transport Association says air travel in Nigeria and in other African countries grew by 34.7% in February 2022. Is local traffic really rebounding in Nigeria?
Obviously, I articulate their data very well and have their sources in the different markets. But from what we've read, the general increase in the RPKs year on year, the general demand, the strength of the demand, I would concur with the statistics. I mean, Dana itself, we're well positioned. We have a very established network and a good following. And, you know, we've seen that loyalty come through in our numbers year on year. So we're happy with where we are right now. Okay. I think it's recovered and some more, actually. It's a very robust market. I mean, obviously, COVID affected the world. But we've seen the market come back stronger, in fact. There was strong demand last year, immediately after the COVID and the lockdowns. And we've seen the figures come through. Naturally, there's economic growth. There is some level of insecurity as well across the country. And that's, you know, part of our day-to-day economics of doing aviation in Nigeria. So year on year, yes, we're definitely in a stronger position than we were a year ago.
At this time in 2021, we were still recovering from the effects of COVID-19. So the trajectory has been a straight upward trajectory from COVID into where we are now. So yes, traffic is increasing, maybe not because it is increasing for economic reasons, but because life is kind of coming back to normal. That's how I read it.
The trade association, representing over 230 global airlines, said Africa posted a strong rebound in February 2022 compared with January 2022, while Omicron-related impacts moderated outside of Asia. For the Director General of IATA, Willie Walsh, the recovery in air travel is gathering steam as governments in many parts of the world lift travel restrictions. States that persist in attempting to lock out the disease rather than managing it, as we do with other diseases, risk missing out the enormous economic and societal benefits that a restoration of international connectivity will bring. The report added that total traffic in February 2022 was up by 115.9% compared to February 2021. African Airlines also had a 69.5% rise in revenue passenger kilometers versus a year ago, a large improvement compared to the 20.5% year-over-year increase recorded in January 2022 compared to the same month in 2021. But just how much are local airlines faring in the face of increased fares?
It is hard to say, but it is definitely getting better because there's a rebound from COVID. That one you can see very clearly. It will take some more time down the line of this year to determine whether we're back to 2019 or not, or better than 2019 or not. But there's every reason for people to travel by air, other than the fact that recently, you know, airfares have had no discounts. You know, before there was lots of discounts. Now all the discounts aren't there anymore. The airlines are unable to charge discounts because the obvious reasons, the deterioration of this fuel situation and the huge escalation in fuel prices. But somehow there's been traffic. You would have thought that traffic would go down significantly because of lack of discount tickets, but traffic seems to have, there was a lull, but it has recovered.
With the statistics, I mean, Dana itself, we're well positioned. We have a very established network and a good following, and we've seen that loyalty come through in our numbers year on year. So we're happy with where we are right now. In terms of the general Nigerian market, I don't want to boast, but we're happy with our position and our financials where we are. We don't like to compare ourselves to the others. We'll grow at the right time, and we'll right size and grow our fleet at the right time.
IATA, however, asks, as the long-awaited recovery in air travel accelerates, it is important that infrastructure providers are prepared for a huge increase in passenger numbers in the coming months, which are critical for jobs throughout the travel and tourism value chain.
On our interview segment, aviation analyst Seyi Adewale explains the interplay of revenue, passengers and kilometers, which is driving the increase in passenger figures.
Is based on comparison between 2022 February and 2021 February. And then generally the indication that they've seen going this year, as in 2022 forecasted, and that of last year. And they are saying that the growth is significant based on the country that lacks in COVID restriction has positively affected air travel. And IATA is trying to encourage those that have not relaxed their COVID restriction to do so that they can benefit from the quantum growth in revenue, passenger numbers, and all that. That is system IATA is using is called revenue passenger kilometer, which means that the kilometer is constant because the destination, the kilometer regarding it doesn't really change. But what changes is really the revenue and the passenger, the number of passengers. So it's potentially possible that air tickets have gone up slightly, and I can say categorically for cargo it has increased. So when you see this quantum RPK analysis by IATA, the function of it has to do with revenue. For example, some shipments that we used to ship for, let's say, $7 has been increased to about $10 from China, for example. That will have a significant impact on the revenue passenger kilometer in terms of the cargo aspect. So if that is the case, so also potentially air travel ticketing has also increased too. So that should be a function. However, most of the parameters they use still shows that we are underperforming as compared to pre-COVID figures in 2019. Some up to 50%, some up to 40%. So we're not still there yet. It has significantly increased, although ours has slightly to do with our foreign exchange, but still yet the overall dollar element of it, in my opinion, has also increased as compared to 2019. For example, not out of the woods yet, because, for example, when you see countries like China locking down a whole Shanghai, and before Shanghai, they locked Schengen, so we're not out of it yet. If the trend continues, yes, we're out of it, we'll be out of it, but we're not sure the trend will continue. US, for example, and some countries, with the laxing of the COVID restrictions, they are beginning to see significant increase. So it's a balance between what is tolerable or what a country believes is its own tolerance to COVID increase or deaths and economy. So there is that delicate balance. For example, UK started by saying that they're beginning to have significant COVID rise, but they said they don't care. It's the economy they are really working on, which has positively affected them because unemployment has reduced to 3.8%, which is said that figure was only reached around 1974 or thereabouts. So it's the balance.
Spectacular aerial displays showcasing the air readiness of the Nigerian Air Force in terms of air power and personnel. First, it's single planes. Next, doubles, and in threes. This is part of the celebration at the 50th anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force, which held in Kano State. President Muhammadu Buhari, is the special guest, highlighted that the Air Force has justified the investments of the government.
This administration acquired new air platforms for the Nigerian Air Force, such as the JF-17 Thunder multi-role fighter aircraft, the A-29 Super Tucano aircraft, the Mi-35M and Augusta 109A helicopter gunships, as well as unmanned aerial systems, among others. I am glad to reiterate that these huge investments in the capacity development of the Nigerian Air Force have helped to turn the tide against terrorists and other violent non-state actors in our nation.
Commercial flight operations have resumed at the Kaduna International Airport 2 months after airlines suspended their operations due to rising insecurity around the airport. The first commercial flight from Lagos landed at the airport on Monday, May the 23rd, with passengers expressing delight over the resumption of services.
We thank ASMAN for having the confidence to restart their business, and of course the state government for giving the security.
The return of flights brings a sort of relief to passengers who narrate the unpalatable experience during the period flights were halted. As the airport comes back to life, one major concern is the safety of passengers and all those involved in the aviation chain.
I'm very much satisfied with the security measures we have been in place, and we have been in synergy with them, talking with them even before this time. And of course, as you have seen, they're here at the airside, they're here along the road, they're here at the access gates, and we are satisfied. Some of them are even at our runway, both ends of runway 23 and runway 05.
Bandits had on March 26th attacked the Kaduna airport and in the process killed a private security guard attached to the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency near the outer perimeter of the fence. The incident, however, forced all commercial airlines plying the route to suspend their flights, pending when security improved. Now to Canada, where massive queues took over the Toronto's Pearson International Airport late last week as travelers continue to grapple with the unusually long lines ahead of the upcoming summer travel season.
They held us in the plane for about 20-25 minutes, basically saying that customs, it was really busy at customs, so they wanted us to wait in the plane. And then we started deboarding, and yeah, it's pretty busy at immigration as well.
Airports from Canada to England are wrestling with long lines and delays as the staffing crunch combined with surging travel demand following a pandemic-induced slump raises fears of chaos in some regions ahead of the busy summer season. In Canada, frustrated passengers have taken to social media in recent weeks to vent their anger, and those images are fueling further calls for relief as travelers arrive early or avoid the airport ahead of the summer season. When we return after the break, our feature for the week is next. In South Africa, Semakaleng Mathabula expertly fires up the burner, aims a giant blue-orange flame towards the multicolored balloon, and watches as it fills with hot air and begins to lift off the ground. The 27-year-old is South Africa's first black hot air balloon pilot and one of the few female pilots in the field. What used to feel unattainable is now part of her weekly routine.
Growing up, I had never seen a hot air balloon. There's no balloons flying over Harangua. My interests were cooking, accounting. At some point, I wanted to do media, but ballooning was not something that was in reach for me. When I was introduced to the sport, it was this new and exciting field. And when I found my feet, I realized it goes beyond marketing. You found me on the field trying to retrieve and crew with everyone else. You found me in the kitchen trying to make sure the guests are eating and they're all happy. And then when the opportunity presented itself by the scholarship with the Department of Sport and Recreation and the Balloon and Airship Federation of South Africa, BAFSA, all the pilots put my name forward and I applied, and here I was being a pilot.
Soon, buildings grew small and she was floating over rivers and farmland, as well as the sunrise, maneuvering the balloon and taking in the view against a yellow sky. Martha Buller found her way into ballooning by accident after struggling to find employment. She consulted a recruitment agency which helped her find a job as a marketing assistant at a hot air balloon tour company. She was smithing and later got a scholarship to do her pilot training from the Department of Sport and Recreation and the Balloon and Airship Federation of South Africa. She earned a license last year. A coach says this is the infusion of new blood into the arena.
We really need new blood, younger blood in the sports thing, because a bunch of us, as we're growing old, and we need to get new people in, and this is why it's so nice to have people like Sema and some of the other kids that's trained now and busy training, because it's new. It's not just new opportunities, it's new viewpoints and new aspirations and stuff like that. And we need to be able, I think years back ballooning was a very exclusive club, whereas now it's becoming more open and open.
Martha Buller also says she's keen to be an ambassador for the sport and hopes to bring in more youth and diversity. She will compete for the first time in the South African Hot Air Balloon Championship in June.
When we think of aviation, we think helicopters, we think your traditional planes, but ballooning is part of aviation. You are a pilot, it is an aircraft, and it is a field to explore. So I think that kept me going. I've always been motivated by letting people have a point of reference to something new, and it's an adventure. It teaches a lot of responsibility, and I developed a self-confidence in the sport that I would love to instill in people of the youth.
Now to Nairobi, where a 16-year-old British schoolboy who is on a quest to become the youngest person to fly around the world solo landed his small plane in Kenya's capital. Mark Rutherford, who started his journey near the Bulgarian capital Sofia in March, is looking to clinch a Guinness World Record currently held by compatriot Travis Ludlow, who was 18 when he completed a circumnavigation last year.
I'm hoping with this journey to inspire young people to follow their dreams. They don't have to wait until they're 18 years old. They can do it while they're still young.
For the young pilot, visibility was a challenge while flying across the Sahara Desert.
Well, so the things I had been hoping to see were actually the Sahara Desert and quite a lot of this area around here, where it's very beautiful landscape, and it hasn't let me down. I absolutely love the views, both in the Sahara Desert and around Kenya.
Right now, Mark Rutherford hopes to see more places like Madagascar or the US or Dubai or things like that. Special places, he says, you don't see anywhere else.
And telecom companies have been at loggerheads over the deployment of 5G mobile services over concerns that the powerful signals could interfere with airplane systems. The Airport Council International warned that the effect of decisions on passengers and flights could be felt for weeks.
Based on currently available information, the resolution of these 5G issues sounds like it will be lengthy and gradual, taking place over weeks and months. In the meantime, passengers and shippers should expect delays and disruptions until the issues are fully resolved.
The 5G technology needs concentrated base station rollout to achieve its monster speed and beauty. Airlines are expressing the fear that with such concentration of service deployment close to the runway in some airports, planes with high-end modern avionics, especially those equipped with radio altimeters, which pilots find very useful during landing and takeoff in bad weather conditions, could face some challenges.
The frequency band that 5G uses is very similar to the frequency band that radar altimeters use. And there's possibility that there's interference or false signals with the 5G and a radar altimeter. So you can, what you would rely on with the radar altimeter giving you a certain altitude above the ground, it may be erroneous based on interference with 5G telephone frequency.
For the United States, it seeks to reach a solution on 5G deployment that protects air safety. At the moment, the FAA has now determined that 20 types of radio altimeters are safe and reliable in 5G environments and has thus approved 90% of commercial aircraft for takeoffs and landings in low visibility at most of the nation's airports.
Bilateral air service agreements are treaties signed between countries to allow international commercial air transport services between them. These agreements provide a framework under which identified airlines from the two countries fly into designated ports in each other's country. The bilateral system has its basis under the Chicago Convention and associated multilateral treaties.
Actually, the principle of BASA is based on reciprocity. And this is one area that everybody who is involved in BASA negotiation must pay attention to. What is BASA agreement in terms of reciprocity? If you want to come into my country, I give you 2 slots. If I want to come into your country, you give me 2 slots. That is reciprocity. Every region, they have their own standards. American standard is there, the European standard is there. Their own standard could be the type of aircraft you need to use, how many aircraft you have in your fleet before you start operations.
BASAs are negotiated based on 9 freedoms of the air, which include the privilege to fly across a state's territory without landing, the privilege to land for non-traffic purposes, for example, for refueling, repairs and maintenance, the privilege of an airline from one country to carry traffic from its own country to another country, the privilege of an airline from one country to carry traffic from another country to its own country, and the privilege of an airline from one country to carry traffic between 2 other countries, providing that the flight originates and terminates in its own country. As of 2016, Nigeria retained its attractiveness with 90 of these agreements, although most remain lopsided.
The big airlines we have today were encouraged by their government, they were sponsored or financed by their government, and they are in what the state they are today because they had the government backings. They had the backings from the states. Here, if we expect Nigerian airlines to grow, you must protect the market, Nigerian market. If you expect the airlines in Nigeria to grow, you must encourage them and give them what it takes.
While many countries across the world still maintain these agreements, the COVID-19 pandemic appears to be changing the status quo.
This is where our flight terminates. It's bye for now. I'm Bukola Jo Kitumbi. See you next time.